Guys, welcome back to Crypto Consciousness. Today, let's explore why the markets are in red, what we can focus on to stay positive, also to hopefully generate some good wealth. We're going to talk about the ecosystems, the movements that's going on at the moment. We're also going to look at you guys being an early adopter and why, what's actually causing a lot of the sell-off at the moment. So let's get straight into it. So today, we're going to look at the charts just here. We've got all this red and then a few projects that are showing in green. We've got XRP in green today. We've got Polygon still in green. Oh, no surprise, we've got Theta in green. Okay, Aave. All right, so there's an indication here in the ecosystems of DeFi. We're starting to see Aave climb up a bit. And then if you scroll down a bit, we've also got Kusama and Compound, and I believe Synthetic as well. Okay, so let's leave it at that for the exploration of the chart there. We've got Synthetics and Aave, two big DeFi projects that are now starting to take off. Does that mean DeFi might start to ripple, have side effects? Yes, maybe, it might be. Let's keep an eye on that. Aave was one of the original movers in the DeFi last year in, I think it was June. It started to really take off and make movements. Then Synthetics and there's one more, Ren, that's right, an Australian project, also a DeFi project. So they started to move, and then all the other DeFi started to come through after that. So if you could have made 10x's, 20x's in all those projects. But something I want to talk about, I want to quickly reflect as well on a move I made a week or two ago when I sold most of my Bitcoin for Theta, and how I'm still up from that move. That's stuff you can consider doing with your projects that you're in on, some that are stale, some that seem to be starting to move. So what we'll do, we'll just have a quick look here. So we're obviously seeing a lot of red. Why? Because there's a lot of FUD going on the whole Elon thing on Twitter, on social media, which is really just shaking out the weak hands, the new people to the market. Now, most of you guys watching might be new, or at least only done 6 months, maybe 12 months in the crypto market. Now, if you've been in the market for 12 months, you've probably felt quite confident and feeling like, you're almost invisible. But this is the kind of experience that we're all going through together, that you're going to realize it's not actually that easy to just buy something and it just goes up. There are a lot of movements that occur, and they're not always up. There can be a lot of down movements. Now, because I've been in the market much longer than that, like we're talking 3.5 years, I came in on the bear market had just begun. And that is an experience, if you haven't been through that really that toughens you up. And that's really just about understanding that markets, even though we call them free markets, we don't have any assurance, and that's why they are free, because, it could be a whole bunch of 50% of people might think the market's going up, 50% might think it's going down. And there's a tug of war on pricing, and that creates the price action that leads to the price charts on that day. Now, for those of you who do not understand technical analysis, you might have a small vague idea, and that's good. We're really trying to understand through price action on a chart what's going on. So I'm just pulling up here the Ethereum chart. Let's just pick a month. So let's say you just got in the market at last April. Okay, so the market was $2,123. Okay, so you got in, you decided, I might buy some because a guy on YouTube said this is a really good project and you want to get invested into it. So you bought in, and then as the days went by, you noticed the price was going up. It hit $3,300. So you're already up $1,000. That's 33% of your investment. That's a really good return. But then all of a sudden, the market wants to make some profit. So quite a significant amount of people shake off and sell off, and that's fine. And then there's a point of, which we'll call this support, that a lot of buyers come in. Okay, so remember, we just got to keep it really simple, that there's the buyers and then the sellers. Doesn't necessarily mean that the buyers are going to always stay buyers, and doesn't mean that the sellers are going to be able to sell all the time. And what that basically means is people will buy when others are selling, and others will sell while others are buying. So let's say for those who are really more realistic and conservative investors, like if you're take advice from a financial advisor, most of the time they'll advise you between 10 and 25% is a really good return, right? I mean, that's what I hear and I've seen. And if you get that kind of return, you're classified as a good investor. And so what happens here in this case, when you're hitting 33%, of course people are going to want to capitalize that, and they capture their profits, so they sell off regardless of the news of whatever was going on at the time. It's sold off, so people start selling, they get their profits, and for them, lucky for them, the price drops below the medium line. Like I've just done a line here that shows a slight diagonal of the trend. We call this the market trend. All we have to do is literally find where there's a lot of touch points on a chart, and that will indicate to you that that's the direction that it's going in. And you can do that on a micro level, meaning you can take small snippets of a chart and it's a few days only, or you can take a month, you can take years, and that can all be done in the top left hand corner where we've got our drop down menu for the time scale. We can do 5 minutes, 15 minutes, 30 minutes, 1 hour, and so on. You can read the rest, and you can do the 1 week. And so at the moment we're in the 1 hour. So it's what I call quite noisy, meaning you see all the ups and the downs. But if you change that to a 4 hour, you'll see there's less noise. And then again, if you change it to a daily, you can really see there's less noise, meaning less ups and downs. So it just sort of summarizes it better for you. But it is an exact chart, so you can see just by what we did then, we pulled right back. And if you were in January, just got into Ethereum, I was telling all my friends that were sort of just interested, that had been sort of lingering, watching me trade for the year and not doing anything. I said, just what can it hurt if you put some money that you can't, that you've got as excess surplus, put it in on cryptos. And so, yeah, if you did, your $1,000 is now sitting at around $4,500. Those who bought up the top at 5,000, 5.5, you'd be crying at this point, because you're like, oh, I'm down about 20% of my investment. But that's not a place you want to be buying. If you listen to anyone who knows anything about a chart assessment, TA, technical assessment, or understands the market, you don't really want to be jumping in when something's too parabolic. In the past, it has paid off, so that's why people do it. And those of you who don't really understand how the markets work, you will be learning through this experience. So that's classify any losses as your education fund. I know I've invested thousands and thousands, and that to me is an education fund. I've done courses, I've lost money, won money, gained money, whatever we want to call that. And I'm here honestly being honest with you, telling you that markets don't all go straight up, and if they do, you need to be cautious. And so that's what's happened here at the top. People are selling off. All it takes is a bit of news by some celebrity or a billionaire who thinks they know more than others, or really understands the way that the masses work. You just need to spike their interest and scare them towards a direction, or create hype and encouragement. And to me, that's still manipulation of some form. And that's, they're allowed to do that. They get away with it, and so be it. But we just need to be smarter than that and not believe the hype. We need to be looking at people who understand the charts, get educated, or at least trust someone who has a proven record of what to invest in. And so that's when I say to you guys, the market is an opportunity to invest in good projects. See it that way. Don't see it as you're gambling and trying to make 100% on a move on one project and then get out of that and buy another 100% move. That's a really hard thing to do unless you are experienced with trading. And sure, it can be done, and we do it. But it's really so that you don't have to be chasing the charts all the time, or don't have to be looking at all these details, which takes years and years of practice and learning and experience. You can just look at a project and decide, okay, is this something I want to invest in? Cool. If so, stick with it for a few years, minimum 1 year, and up to 5 years, because we know in the tech world, 5 years is a lifetime. So here, if we're looking at Ethereum, we can see that we had a massive green run up. And so, yeah, people took out money, and now we're looking at a point where it might come back to return. Now, I've just drawn a really simple mean line there. You could put it here if you wanted to, which means potentially we could come back to Australian dollars, of course, 3,700. But I don't see that, because that'd be too drastic. I could see potentially we might come back to 4,000. We almost did. We got 4,100. It might be time to cool off just a little bit before we come back down again, but it may not. So there's no crystal ball here, but these are things we just like to prepare ourselves with the options or the potential outcomes. And if you're prepared for the outcome, it doesn't affect you as much emotionally. So we don't want to be invested emotionally into our trading or our investing. We want to be making decisions and be calm about them and just stick by them and not get caught up on the price actions of the daily changes or the hourly changes. There are many, and we all do it. We all check the charts over and over again at some point because we're watching a project or we're just interested in what's happening, and that's fine. You'll go through that, but just don't tear yourself apart and cause yourself stress, because ultimately we're in an uptrend. Hopefully you got in earlier. Hopefully you listened to me along 6 months ago or over the last 6 months before this takeoff of the green candles. And if you did, well done. Congratulations. That's what it's all about. Now, if we come back here, just have a look. Everything's still on track. It's still all good. I believe we're currently on a daily chart. Sorry, on an hourly chart. We've seen this point here was an area of what I was watching to be broken, and it broke down. So we've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, sort of 5 touches, and then the 6th touch it went down. And so then we've been sort of in this area here, which we call this, this is an attention zone where, there's a bit of action and it's a channel, meaning a lot of stuff has happened in there, in that zone for a while, from this price here, 4,700 down to 4,400. Now, the fact that we've broken back down from there and then come back in and then kept going down, there is significant decision making going on here. So again, this is just for the newbies who don't understand this. I'm just trying to give you a quick story so you get a quick understanding of what's happening. But you can see that what we call this point here is support, because it's almost like you're jumping off something and you're landing on it, and there's a tension there. So trampoline sends it back up. So that's your support. Now, if that support breaks, then we go down to find further support, and so be it. That's the support story. The resistance, we try to tell a story of, let's say, price is coming up and it hits a roof and there's resistance. So of course you come back down. And again, we try again to go back up because there's demand for it, but we're not strong enough, and then the resistance kicks in and then we go down. So we've got our resistance points and we've got our support points. A lot of you have been asking in my video comments to explain some support and resistance, and also to touch on theta and a bit more about hollow. I'll touch on theta towards the end. I'm going to give you guys the golden ratio to look out for with T-Fuel as well. But yeah, back to support. All we want to do is find an area where there's a lot of touch points on a chart, right? So if you pull up CoinSpot, you can hit the chart on whichever one you're looking at. So here we go to the list. There's Bitcoin. We'll hit chart. We'll decide what time frame we want to look at. So just quickly here, you can see this is a downtrend, right? If I wanted to put a resistance line on it, just to find out where we might have resistance the next time the price comes back up, I just find a few touch points, significant ones. So we've got a top, and then a lower top, and an even lower top. So because I'm touching the tops, it shows you that that's a point that once we take that, go through that, take that out, we potentially could start to see some nice up action because there's not much resistance there. Now, this here can also be done for the support. So we can find a significant bottom. Let's go maybe here and get a few touch points. Great. So we know there's a channel happening here, and whenever it comes to this area, people are buying, and again it comes to that area, people are buying. So hopefully that gives you a slight understanding without going too heavy into it and without giving you a full lecture course. Again, we're down here, we've got touch point. Now, one rule to know that the more you touch an area, the more chance it's got to go through it. But there's a lot more to that, and there's a lot of shapes that occur. There's a lot of triangles that you can look at, and that can change the direction of the market. But I won't go into any of that further. But here I wanted to show you guys that. Let's go on the daily chart. I wanted to explain my selling off Bitcoin for theta the other week, and show you why I did it and how I'm still in profit from it, because that's what you can be doing right now. So if you're worried about certain lower caps, lower market value gems, we call them, lower market value cryptocurrencies or projects in going down at the moment, you might want to shift where you're putting your investment. And so what I can do is just show you here. We have, where did I sell out? It was at 65, so about here. In this area here, I sold my Bitcoin to get into Theta. Why? Because I felt that Theta was the better investment for the long run, because I'm not looking for the short-term plays. I'm looking for the long-term plays. So I'm looking at, it could even be 3 months rather than a few days. But that day, when I did that, I immediately was up 22%. And the point I'm talking about is, I'll just get an arrow to show you. Right, where did I buy? It was $11.30, so right here, right there. That's where I swapped in, because I saw Theta was very cheap. I saw it as a sale, and I saw Bitcoin was also coming down low, not as cheap, because obviously you need a lot more percentage or dollars to change the percentage in the move. And I think it was down about 10% that day, so about here somewhere. And let's have a measuring tool. Let's grab that measuring tool there. So from where we were, if you looked at the immediate movement on that day, the next day, it looked like Bitcoin went up 17%, right? And then if we go over here, from Theta to the next few days, we went up to 50%. So immediately the recovery, I was already in a better position. Now, let's go from where we got that $11 or so. Yeah, so we'll go, no, it's actually, delete that one. Let's go from, sorry, again, get rid of that. So, 11.30 was my buying price for Theta, and to where we are right now. Okay, so we're up 14% still on that conversion that I did. Let's go back to Bitcoin and grab our ruler. Now Bitcoin, we said, was about 65,000 to where we are right now, and that is a 12% move. This morning was 15% down, that is. So if I'd stayed in Bitcoin, I'd be down nearly 13%, but the fact that I've moved to Theta, I'm up 14%. So you see how that moves? So it's actually, you've protected your capital by, is it 30? Well, you've sort of worked within a 27% range, but instead of losing 13%, I've gained 14%. So that to me is a clever move. That to me is what I'm looking at doing in the markets when there's uncertainty and there's celebrities and billionaires causing FUD in the market and scaring people away. We know having a lot of new people come into the market who are watching tweets and are on TikToks and all these platforms, they get spooked easily. So when someone like Elon Musk or somebody comes out and says something, a lot of people just listen and do. Now, I'd say take a little bit more responsibility and do your own research into what you're getting involved with before you do put money forward. That means when some celebrity makes a noise or shakes the ground, you don't fall over. And so, yeah, so there's a huge percentage of newbies coming into the market, and so they're obviously listening to those media calls. But we don't want to trade like that, so we want to look at fundamentals. So hopefully with what I do in my videos, I share you projects and why I'm getting into them, why I'm making certain moves. And Theta is going to be obviously a point to talk about, because making that move to Theta, I see more growth happening now. I see June 30th is when the mainnet 3.0 is going to be launched. And in doing that, let's see how many days are left. We will get a better experience of the Theta network. There'll be a lot more available coming through. There's basically changes and upgrades going on. So if you have a look, we've got 43 days to go. I'd be looking around 30 days that the price really starts to climb again, which is usually about a month before. So just pay attention to that. Is today a good time to buy it? Well, I just have to look at the chart, and I'll do that by looking at a point of support. Okay, great. So $11 is $11.40, $11.50 is a good area of support. Let's just grab a drawing tool, rectangle. All right, so I'd be looking around here. If I can buy anywhere around here, if I was still wanting to get in, then yeah, I've seen a pretty significant pullback, almost 45% pullback. And from that top that we had, boom, to here, so 40% pullback, which is it's significant. Normally between 40 and 60%, if you see a pullback on a really good project, is a good time to buy. I also just like to be really, really realistic and draw a mean line from a pretty nice 45-degree angle, and that basically gives me the lowest point that I would be looking at this thing retracing. In the future here, I doubt it, but if we were lucky enough to get it back to buy theta around in the $8 to $9 region, as I've talked about in previous videos, then I'd definitely be trying to accumulate a bit more, because we know that this has the potential to go pretty parabolic. I've talked about in my previous videos about $80 to $120 theta in 2021, so still a good time to invest. Even if you did buy at the top, just be patient, hold tight. Don't do what I did in January and have to sell out on a really good project because it had gone stale and I needed the funds for other investing, which were great, and I'm so glad I did that because I made other dollars convert, but I missed out on a massive $2 million just based on a $20,000 investment. So don't do that, and be patient, and even if it takes you another year, then it's worth its while. Also, the benefits of that on a tax level is you're getting a lower tax rate. So instead of paying in Australia 35% capital gains, you'd be looking at the 15% capital gains, and check with your accountant all those details, but that's the gist of it. So here, is theta going to pull back? I'd say that would be on a very calm market, and if it keeps correcting, then potentially it could be. But is this the price that's available to us right here, right now? If so, are you happy with it? You have to make your decision, and that's at $12.80. Don't worry about the top corner here. That's because I've had it open for many days now. So what you can do also, just to clarify this kind of move, so we've seen what can happen in Bitcoin. Let's change from Ethereum. Let's go to the main page. So now you want to be looking at projects that, like Cardano's been moving massively, and news is coming that at the July, I believe Cardano is going to be launching their next upgrade, which Guggenhagen, which will enable people to come from the Ethereum network to Cardano. So let's talk about ecosystems. I'm going to go into that because at the moment, that's been really the focus. Binance Smart Chain has been taking a lot of the profits and attention from Ethereum. Ethereum, let's just try to explain this to the newbies. Ethereum, one more step back. Bitcoin was made in 2009, and it's the king of cryptocurrencies. It's the best example, it was the initial example of blockchain technology coming to fruition on a decentralized financial money market, which basically is, to keep it simple, it's not centralized. Centralized means what your current bank and central banks that are all owned by very, very small number of people that in a way claim to be national or international organizations. I believe they're all privately owned. So the perception that you have access to your data and that it's secure is actually probably most likely incorrect, because your data is on a centralized server which is owned by, like I said, a very small handful of corporations or people that have access to do what they wish with your data. And so most people aren't trusting those centralized forms of money anymore, because they are printing them out like as if it's toilet paper, and they are you don't have control of what's being done by governments and corporations with your dollars and the value. So if they're printing it, it devalues your currency that you hold in your bank account. So that is not a good sign. And if you own a rare commodity, but then all of a sudden somebody started making a lot of it or discovering a lot of it, it'd bring the price of that commodity down. And same with currency, even though we know currency needs to be more of a balanced, universal, stable tool, because money is a tool. It gives us choices to accumulate what we need as resources. It also gives us the ability to make new technologies, be innovative, help humanity, protect resources, whether it be water, trees, whatever that be. The most important things to hold life on this planet. So we know we live on a finite planet. There are limits to things, and there are also limits to what we shouldn't be doing. So toxicity levels, pollution, all that. We need to keep focused on what we can do on a daily level. Sure. Which is, don't waste water, don't waste electricity. Try to use electricity that comes from a better source, whether it be solar, wind. And we know they're not perfect, those industries, but they're still better than the coal. So we're not burning that and polluting the planet. So, that's a little bit of a tangent, but this needs to be where our integrity and values lie in when we're looking at what our investment is backing. Now, keeping it back to Bitcoin, we've got Bitcoin was basically made after the 2008 crash, GFC, global financial crisis, where banks went down and then they were all bailed out by their buddies up in the governments. And Bitcoin was basically the revolution of that, saying, hey, no more, let's create a money supply that is finite. 21 million tokens will be created, and then that needs to be dispersed worldwide. Problem is, you're still dealing with a buy-in situation, not a fairness distribution system. And so Bitcoin, whoever has the money can buy it. Now, you have to be, I guess, brave enough at the start to invest into it because it wasn't worth anything or much, let's say, a few cents, and then it went to a few dollars and so on. And it was quite volatile, so up and down, up and down. And so we still witness those up and down movements, but we see a little bit more of a balanced, those mean lines that I talk about, that's the balance and the harmony of the average buying and selling that goes on. So Bitcoin is the king, or is the dominant and original OG. That one came out first. Then we needed a little bit more, I guess, better improved tech. So Bitcoin's solid, but it's not fast. It's not practical for transactions. It takes ages. You need to confirm 30 transactions before it shows up on your wallet or your ledger or whatever you're trying to bring the Bitcoin to. So it's not practical for a fundamental daily use. It's better more for long-term investing, like a gold type thing where you buy it and sit it and leave it until you go to move it. You put a little bit of attention into moving it to sell it off later on to claim some of your capital back. It's a store of value, basically. Now, Ethereum is a smart contract. It's an ecosystem which enables a lot of different projects to occur. DeFi was a big one that really took off last year, which is decentralized finance, which is basically another avenue instead of Bitcoin, but something that might be much faster to use. You can earn income from, you can generate by farming a certain token, and you can create a yield. And that's really what investors want. They want to grow their capital. Then obviously Binance, BNB was a Binance exchange, was a very big exchange that created a lot of innovative thinking and then started to fund a lot of projects. And then they brought their smart chain out, which was basically to make Ethereum, to step in for Ethereum, because Ethereum's tech is still not completely finished and it's not there to make it super fast and super convenient. So they picked up the game and brought out smart chains, which decided to, actually allows for transactions to occur super fast at very low fees. And there's also Cardano, which has been in the making, which is also about to launch. That Copenhagen is a smart contract aspect, which will enable transfer from Ethereum to Cardano back to any other ecosystem that they want to use. And so then we also have got Polkadot, which is coming out and forming itself too. It's not actually active at the moment, so it's still speculation. Cardano is, it's stepping forward, and I believe this will be the next one in July to finally prove itself. And so there's a bit of money been coming forward on that. It's been holding pretty strong while the market's been going down. We've seen Cardano climbing some green candles just there while the market's been going down. Today, it's obviously realizing a little bit of parabolic upwards. Anyone that saw that would have said, okay, anyone that's trading, that is, not investing, trading. Investors hold tight and just chill, and unless a major pressure support point has been broken. But here, these are people going, you know what, that's unrealistic, let me sell off, buy ball back in here, and continue the climb up. So, don't be spooked by a little bit of a red candle. That's necessary, because nothing goes straight up. And if it does, the more parabolic and straight up it goes, the harder it falls, because we need a reality check. Because not everybody's going to keep wanting to buy at high prices. At some point, those guys want to make a profit, so they sell to people who are coming in. So don't be that person who buys at the top, who's impulsive. Oh, I need to get in. Sometimes you do get rewarded for crazy moves like that. You see it go up about 50%, you buy in, and it keeps going up. And that's, that does happen, and it does happen in crypto. Crypto's great like that, but we don't want to be relying on that. So there's a whole bunch of others. Yeah, there's Solana that's now come through. We've got AVAX, Harmony, Polygon's been a great one. So there's a lot of ecosystems out there now that we can be looking at and that are creating some movements. XRP is starting to climb as well, and that's just waiting on the SEC court case to resolve. That may happen very soon. So yeah, we want to be patient there, but that could just take off once it does get a green light. So I think that's what people are buying at the moment, is that there's a bit of optimism in the air for XRP. Dogecoin, we know that's just marketing at the moment. Mr. Elon himself is loving that one. He promotes it, and so people have been buying it. People who don't know anything about cryptos are coming in and buying that meme coin. It might be used later on down the track. It might for SpaceX. That's what I hear on the news. Is that going to stick around forever? I don't know. I'd like to say I doubt it, but you never know. Dogecoin might be here to stay. Now, Uniswap has been just sort of hovering, but Uniswap, I believe, has a layer 3 coming out. I think that was launched, so nothing really much happened there. Now, back to, so we're seeing Chainlink here. This is another big project. These guys here in DeFi rely on oracles, and Chainlink was like the king of oracles. So it has been climbing lately. For those of you who don't own any Chainlink, it still seems like a solid buy. We've had a bit of a pullback, which has been good. Let's get on the daily chart. So we've had from $68 down to $49. So, let's have a look. For those who have just been listening, who are new to charting, let's just do a basic support line and have a look. Like, that's nice movement straight up. There's an uptrend there. It's going up. So you can tell it's an uptrend because these lower lows. So we'll call this a lower low and that a lower high. Lower low, lower high. You can see that the lows are getting higher and higher. So unless I see this break and tip over, which I doubt, I believe this will continue its uptrend. So is it worth buying? Yeah, absolutely. It's a great project. I got in on this one at $2.50. So for me, it doesn't matter what happens here. As long as it doesn't go below, let's say $28, then I wouldn't worry about this being in a bear market. So I talked about definitions of bull markets and bear markets in a previous video. You can check that out. It's 2 videos ago. I'll probably try to find the link, put it down below in the comments. So that's Chainlink. Yeah, it's an oracle. Basically, oracles just give data to the platforms and to the DeFi programs, and it needs to be accurate data, so it needs to be reliable. And we know that JP Morgan was behind the Chainlink program, so that's obviously got good funding and a lot of brains behind it. So that's something to keep in mind when you're investing in a solid project. Solana is an ecosystem that's active. It's been growing. Do I think that's worth buying at the moment? I think it's had a bit of a high, and we've consolidated here. What that means is there's a bit of dispute by the ups and the downs, by the buyers and the sellers. So will this continue to go up? It could quite easily do that. It's possible. As you can see, this consolidation led to an up push, and then this little consolidation up push. And then this consolidation looks like we had a breakout, but has not been continued. So we've had a lot of indecision. Now that there, for those who don't know TA, I'm just going to give you a candlestick reading. That's an indecision. You've got a candle that says indecision. So we've had a push up and we've had a push down. There's a bit of a tug of war going on. And so I wouldn't be surprised if this actually came down a little bit. But there is a lot of hype around Solana at the moment. So unless the market continues plummeting, then I would say Solana might continue up. But it is still pretty parabolic. If you have a look at that move, let's go down the bottom of the chart. Since January, it was $1.40 and we're sitting at $62. So that's a massive multiple. But keep in mind, guys, those of you who are in the markets right now, we're still early adopters. We're still early in the game. There's still a lot of adoption that will occur. over the coming years. This is the advanced technology that humanity has access to. Sure, there might be a lot of other technologies that are suppressed or covered or not available to us, but what we do know that these are available to us now. And so we're investing in things that we're hoping to be here in the long run. And that's really how you want to be making your decisions. Keep in mind, projects that are, the bigger the project, the more funding behind it. So the more market capital it has, meaning the value behind it, is basically the higher the chances of real good experts being behind the project, like MIT, PhDs, people who have come out of studying this as a full-time thing, whether it be in the tech side or the business side. And so you really want to be looking, the top 10 are pretty solid. I don't know what Internet Computer is. It's just popped up this week. It has a pretty big market cap, and I'm not sure why, but it's something to look into. But there's all these projects in the top 20 are pretty solid. Polygon, we've seen been skyrocketing, and there's green in that chart. Now, let's go back to Theta. I want to just hopefully end on actually two more points. One will be Theta and one will be the other markets. Let's go to the other markets first. So lately in the indices, we've got a lot of markets have been down. So you can see, again, I don't want to bore you with too much charting stuff, but just, the American exchange, the dollar, the SPY, all the big companies in the US, NASDAQ, all these have been in red today. And so we're only starting to see green coming through the crypto markets and some currencies. But what I love and I want to talk about is gold and silver just briefly. We've seen, again, let's have a look here. We've seen a nice uptrend occur on silver. Again, the lows are a little bit higher and a little bit higher. So is it saying that we might continue this uptrend? Yeah, sure it does. Does show a good sign that we're about to bust out. There's a chart here I want to show you. It's a triangle that shows that we're getting to an apex. It might roll over. We're going to retest the $29 mark on the US dollar for silver. It might mean we might pull back down again, but if that does occur, then I would see 1, 2, 3, 4, or it might be 1, 2, 3, and then the fourth time we come up. That's a strategy from WD Gann, who I followed and studied. I didn't follow. I studied his work in 2005, which really got me a good foundation in the markets. But his works from 1901 to 1920, and he was a great trader, probably valued at 20 billion he generated from trading, based on his own understanding of calculations of time and charting. The other good, I've seen a little thing here under Trading View, is silver has a cup and handle going on, which means potentially we could skyrocket from there and hit the $50 US dollar. So if you're not diversified and you don't own any precious metals, it might be an opportunity to go into your city and buy a kilo or two of silver, because the prices are starting to be retested. But particularly the reason I mentioned these indices and markets are all been down lately, and potentially some of them have been topping out, meaning that they've reached a high point and that things might start to go in reverse. If economies start to continue realizing losses and falls, then this comes down, and people generally hedge their bets in silver and gold. And so where's gold? We've got gold here. Lately, we topped out in August last year at 2,070 US, and we've recently seen 1,600, return to 1,600. What I love about gold, it's a traditional market, meaning a lot of the technical analysis tools occur, particularly a movement like this, and WD Gann was the one who really brought this to light, was a double bottom. So you can see there's a major bottom here, and then there's another real major bottom, which is what we call support. And once it touched that point, it just took off. And you can make some money if you can spot these in traditional markets that have really solid money behind them. So this is an $11 trillion market, gold. So when something significant occurs, generally you can sort of rely on it. Now we've broken out of a static trend, I believe, with gold, so we might be busting our head above that. I need the charts to do it properly, but yeah, so we might be seeing some movement, continued movement for gold, particularly if you see other markets down. It's the general correlation is if stocks are down, gold usually goes up as a hedging bet, and if stocks are up, gold tends to come back down, meaning people take money out of gold and put it into the stocks. And so that's something to consider. currencies, forex currencies. So again, just like cryptocurrencies, they are traded daily and there's a lot of money behind them. And so people want to move from one currency to another based on the movements. And for example, 2008, when I went to the USA, when I'd left from Australia to the US, it was great because the Aussie dollar was going up in value and the US dollar was going down. And so I went from, I think we went up to $1.09 Aussie to an American US dollar. But what happened when I returned 2 or 3 months later, when I was trading commodities, I was storing my funds in US dollar and I saw that US dollar gain strength again and our Aussie dollar went down to 66 cents to the US dollar. So my $1.09 went to 66. So, there was a significant 50% devaluation just based on that occurring. So this is what I'm suggesting with cryptos. If you can find ecosystems or projects that you really like and feel like there's news coming up and you can invest in, you might want to move some of your more risky moves or investments over to these. Theta is one of those, in my eyes, which is a solid project, has amazing backing. Check out, you only have to look at who's sponsoring them. Enterprise Validator Nodes. This doesn't mean that they're involved as a Theta partner. Well, they're a partner in a sense, but they're not behind the technology. So they're investors, and so they've bought so many millions of Theta tokens, and they're holding a enterprise node, which means they help hold the network and run the technology through their computers. And so you've got Google, Sony, Samsung, Binance, and Gummy. I don't know Gummy, but blockchain. And so there's a big nodes. And then below that, you've got all the other nodes, such as Elite nodes and Guardian nodes. Elite nodes you can download here on the thetatoken.org, and the Guardian node, which you can run on a computer. It takes computer power to do it, but it does help share the network, and you do earn rewards for it in T-Fuel. Now let's jump into that as the last thing to wrap this up. For those who are invested in T-Fuel or Theta, I want you to look just closely here. We have Theta tokens at a circulating supply of 1 billion, and then we have Theta Fuel at 5, let's call it 5 billion, because I know the good news, we're going to see those 298,736,600 tokens at some point will be burned, which means the value of T-Fuel will increase. So that's something to consider coming up. So the other thing is we have on the 30th of June, the mainnet upgrade occur, and generally behind that becomes a lot of excitement and investors coming into the space. But the simple thing here, I want to point out a simple mathematics. It's basically once the 3.0 comes out, staking will become more valuable. At the moment, it doesn't seem to be reaping much rewards on my end, and I know that consensus on YouTube from a lot of other people. So we're really excited about 3.0 coming out, and what we want to understand is that there is a golden ratio that's to be occurred between Theta and T-Fuel, and that ratio is 6.25 6.25 T-Fuels to every 1 Theta. Okay, so what that means is if Theta stays around the $10 mark, that means at the moment we're at 11 to 1. So how many, let's call it 33, how many 33 cents in $10? Well, every dollar we know has 3 33s. It's actually 33.3, but we'll just, for mathematics fun, simplicity, we got 3 for every dollar, times that by 10, we've got 30. So it's 30 to 1 at the moment. Now that is supposed to be reduced to 6 to 1, 6.25 to 1. So that means the T-Fuel price is still very undervalued. So if you're looking to me for what I would be looking at putting some funds towards right now, I would be personally looking at T-Fuel because it's at a really good price. It also has a lot of tokenomics that are going to occur, such as the burn, to encourage its price to inflate upwards. And it's an amazing project, what's being done here. It's revolutionizing the decentralized platform for viewing and gaming. So, I believe NFTs are coming to the space, or they've actually started coming to the space, but they're still working that out, and that will be improved upon. There's staking options, so rewards get well, tokens get locked up, which is what staking, the purpose of staking is, and then there's also interest earned on that, so investors become rewarded. So there's a lot of good things about this program and project, and so if you haven't seen my video about it before, you're welcome to go and search for that in my list. The staking is a big point, which will really improve as well once mainnet comes out. So anyway, I hope all that makes sense and everybody's doing well. Don't believe and don't buy into all the FUD and the red in the charts. We want to stay optimistic. You want to stay looking the long play, the long game, which is just stay balanced, level-headed, and trust your investment that you've decided to be invested in. And don't worry about too much of the choppiness, because that's all healthy. Downwards is healthy as well as upwards. So most important is that the long-term trend is up. So the trend is your friend. Stay strong to the trend. And look, guys, I'll see you all in the next video. Leave comments in the bottom if you want to hear more specifics as well. But also if you liked any of what I talked about. I know we just sort of just freestyled a little bit of this, a little bit of that. But I'd love to go into more specific ecosystems in the next video. But it's all about time, guys. So yeah, happy investing, and I'll see you all in the next video.